Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, man. I got a brand new video for you, ladies and gentlemen. But before I get started, like always, I appreciate you guys drop a like. If you're new to the channel, first time here, never ever seen any of my lineup advice videos, hey, the only thing you need to do to be a part of the community here at DFS Zone is to become a subscriber. So make sure you subscribe down below. Make sure you put on your post notifications. This way you don't miss out on any of my lineup advice videos. With that being said, today is Monday, January the 28th, 2019, and we have a nice 5-game slate in the association today. And before I get started, like always, if this is your first time here, welcome. What I normally do on 3-4 game slates, and today being a 5-game slate, I'm going to go ahead and optimize lineups for you guys on Fantasy Cruncher, which is a software that I use to optimize lineups. I don't recommend everybody just use all the lineups you see there. I use the tools to be able to gauge more or less on some plays and be able to use the game logs and the research and do a little bit of research on it. But I will share with you some lineups again today like I normally do. I know a lot of you like when I do that. We'll do it for all 3 platforms like usual. So stick around to the end of the video and we'll optimize some lineups. What I will do is, like always, I will go over some of the plays I think that will be pretty good plays for us today. And then, of course, we're going to have those players in the player pool as well as some of the other players within the actual slate. And then we'll optimize, crunch them down, and get lineups, do about maybe 50 lineups on all 3 platforms, Fanduel, DK, and Yahoo for you guys. And we will show that right here as I do the video. Okay, guys, so let's get right to it, man. At point guard today, we have at the top, we have Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, Kemba Walker. They're the top dogs today. I do like Kyrie Irving here. I will have exposure to him. Like I always tell you guys here, I will tell you who I'm having exposure to. Again, very, very important. If you're not following me on Twitter, I've been more active on Twitter as of late over the last few weeks. I've been letting you guys know that. I forgot to mention in yesterday's video. I'm going to try to remember every day to at least remind you. If you come and view this video, make sure that if you're a subscriber here, you should be following me on Twitter as well, because on Twitter, about a half hour to 15-20 minutes before lock, I put up my final decision on players that I'm really having the most exposure to. And I'm not only giving you one per position, I'm sometimes giving you a few more that I think are good possible plays as well, just like I do here on the actual videos for each slate every day. So again, make sure that you are definitely following me on Twitter so you'll be able to get that information. Again, that Twitter handle is DFS Zone at DFS_zone. All right, and that information is in the description of this video as well as all my other social media handles. So make sure you are on top of all those things. But I'm trying to be as active, as proactive as I can be on Twitter, as well as in the comment section of these videos. You can always ask me questions here. There's a number of you that do it, and I do appreciate that. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Usually by the time 5:30 rolls in, I definitely settle in at home and I look over the actual comments and I respond to everybody. So I'm pretty good with that. So make sure that if you're not able to get on Twitter, make sure you at least have any questions pertaining to the slate, definitely speak to me about it here on the comment section in the video. All right, other than that, let's get right into it. So again, Kyrie Irving is someone I will have exposure to. You will always get options here for those of you who if this is your first time here. I'm not going to just give you one play, but Kyrie Irving I will have exposure to pretty much in my quarter GPPs. I'm not too sure yet if I'm going to utilize him here yet in the 100K matchup, but I do believe that there is some obvious value here at point guard today that we should definitely take advantage of. Coming down further, Steph Curry, tough matchup against Indiana with Darren Collison and Corey Joseph. The guys are pretty decent defenders. They don't have Oladipo, which is also another great defender. That I would think open up the doors for maybe Klay Thompson, at least in my opinion today, more so than Steph. So you could basically pay down and maybe go for Klay Thompson if you want to play one of the Golden State Warrior guards. But Irving is definitely someone I would consider at 10-5. We're going to come down. Darren Collison, I definitely do like. Again, we discussed this already. Without no Oladipo, Collison definitely gets a bump in usage and in minutes automatically. Offensively, he's going to have to put up a little bit more points, and he's going to have to be on the floor a little bit more. The only drawback is that eventually his price tag is going to get to the point where it's going to be a little tough to play him unless you're playing him for cash, because GPP might not be able to just be a good play for us. But he's at 6,700 tonight, and as we know on FanDuel, they bump up the prices a little bit. We know that he's been playing really solid basketball. With no Oladipo, he's going to definitely need to contribute a little bit more. Like I said, at 67, you need pretty much 33. He is 5,900 on DK, so you need 29 there while you need 33 here. He's definitely a fine play in either one of the two platforms. Obviously, at DK, the price is a little bit nicer. He's averaging more than 30 minutes per game as of late, as you can see that. And as you can see, he's solid. 4 straight games at 31 or better, which is he is trending upward. He is above his average, which I always like to look at, is where he's at as far as fantasy point totals and where he's at in the course of his last 4 or 5 games. So very critical to at least getting an idea and a gauge of where the player is at. Then, of course, you have to also look at whom he played against, and then you gauge even more there. But at 30 plus minutes the last few games and averaging more than 34 fantasy points over the last 3 games, he's definitely someone to consider here for sure against Golden State. And we come over here a little bit further. We're not going to break down all the players like I normally do. You go over usage and everything, but as you can see, he's been pretty solid as of late. Very solid the last 3 games. Over 30 minutes a game, over 22% usage rate. He's going to take more shots. We know that already. He's going to definitely do that. He's going up against this team that's 11th in defending point guards right now at the moment, and they're allowing 33.2 fantasy points per game and just slightly under 1 fantasy point per minute at 0.98. They did recently give up 56 to Irving, 46 to Sandaransky, and 42 to Alexander. So I definitely think Darren Collison has an opportunity to at least meet value and maybe just slightly exceed it. Who knows? He may just even smash it and get a 40, 45 plus here and be at 9, 10x. It's a possibility. But again, I think he's a fine player. As you can see, I have the thumbs up on both Irving and Collison for the player pool. If you're not on Collison, then I really think there's some opportunity here. As you can see, Dinwiddie, Murray, Dinwiddie, and Moutier are all out. All right. So with Murray out, obviously you got to look at Monty Morris. You got to look at Beasley. There's definitely a bump up, obviously, to the big men. Mr. Jokic tonight, without Murray there, he's going to take a little bit more shots. He's going to have a little bit more usage. So there's going to be some value opening up, for the Denver Nuggets. But Spencer Dinwiddie being out, you definitely got to consider Shabazz Napier. The only concern with me with Shabazz Napier is that he's going up against Boston and he's going up against Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving is a pretty decent defender. He's actually a pretty good defender, at least in my opinion. So for Shabazz, that's a tough matchup. I do like a couple other guys here. Patrick Beverley definitely stands out to me. He's been really, really good as of late for the Clippers. This is a game that I'm definitely going to target a lot, especially in the later hour games. The Clippers and the Atlanta Hawks is a high implied total scoring game. These teams both play at a fast pace. Atlanta is probably the fastest team in the NBA as far as getting up and down the floor and trying to take quick shots. This is going to be a game that Patrick Beverley should be able to do well in. We always known Patrick to be this good defender and everything, and he was getting the short end of the stick, not really playing a whole lot of minutes. And all of a sudden now, as of late, if you look at his game log, Coach Rivers has been playing this guy massive minutes, 35 or better in 5 straight games. He put up a double-double, almost a triple-double in his last game, put up a 44 spot. He's had a 44 spot and a 54 spot over the course of 5 games. Now, granted, you may only get 20 from him, but as of late, he's been up there, 34 here, 54, 44. So I do like where he's heading, man. 5 straight games at 34-plus minutes and 4 out of the last 5 games at 22-plus fantasy points per game with those 2 big ones versus Atlanta, 24th defending point guards, allowing 41.2, the most amount of fantasy point totals on this slate today to opposing point guards, and giving up 1.3 fantasy points per minute to opposing point guards. I do think Patrick Beverley has an opportunity here. If they keep this game up in pace and they can stay fairly close for a little while, this can be a game that he can actually excel in. At 4,600, man, you only need 23 fantasy points to meet value, and on DK's 4,500, pretty much the same price. You need about 23 to meet value. So I think Beverley is definitely someone to consider. And other than that, we already know Frank Ntilikina, just before me putting this video today, I got the notification that Frank Ntilikina, who was early this morning, a game time decision, is now out. So there's no Moutier, no Ntilikina. That opens up the door for Trey Burke. It opens up the doors for Trier. It opens up the doors for Damian Dotson. These guys here may be some surprising plays if Fizdale uses these guys. I believe he will. As anybody's been following me long enough, I am a New York Knicks fan. Sadly to say, Coach Fizdale's still trying to figure out more or less which players he's probably looking to build around for the future. We know it's a rebuilding season for the Knickerbockers. We're also waiting for Porzingis to get back. But Trey Burke, he's going to get an opportunity. So he is possibly someone you can consider here. With this news now, I would think he's going to be one of the ones that's going to be more of the highly owned value plays for tonight. But again, he is someone you must consider. Trey Burke, 4,500. You need 23 to meet value. He's DK. He's 4,200 tonight, and you need 21 days, averaging 20. He's had 2 straight games at 23+ minutes, and he's put up an 18 and a 14 spot, 18 and a 40 spot, in those 2 games. All right, and that's the only drawback. You could only get, sometimes you'll get him at 18, 20. Sometimes he plays a few more minutes, he'll go off for 40. But he does have 40, 45 point upside. He's very explosive. He can get points in bunches. So if he gets hot and he gets streaky and he gets aggressive, anything can happen. So Trey Burke, definitely someone in play. Last year versus Charlotte, he did put up a 62 spot in 1 game. Okay, so we'll look at him real quickly here. Trey, I jotted this down early this morning before leaving to work. 62 spot, as you can see there, in 40 minutes. Again, that was a massive overtime game. Doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing today, but we know that there's definitely potential. We know Kimba is not a great defender, so he's going to have an opportunity to put up some points here. So Trey Burke definitely in play. Charlotte 20th in defending point guards, allowing 31.6 fantasy points per minute to opposing point guards as of late. They did give up 31 to Bledsoe recently. Connolly put up 35, and Mr. Darren Collison put up 40. These are the last 3 opponents for Charlotte. So Trey Burke, has the opportunity to be able to do that, and I think he has the ability to do it. So he is someone definitely to consider, man. We're going over to shooting guard. At shooting guard at the top, we got D'Angelo Russell against Boston. And again, Boston tough against the opposing point guards, pretty much tough across the board, pretty much in every position. So I think this is definitely a tough matchup for D'Angelo, but we do know that he's going to be the man there for Brooklyn. So you can, I'm not going to say, to fade him. You can't play him if you're going to play multiple lineups. I think he's someone you can consider. I won't say he's a must. For me personally, I'm not going to be on him. I do believe that I could pay down here at even Clay or even Williams, and I think we will be okay with Lou Will or Klay Thompson here. Klay Thompson, 7,100. Lou Will, 7,100. Either or, I think they're good to go. Klay more so. I like today. I wouldn't like him so much so if there was Oladipo going up against him, but when he has to deal with just Corey Joseph maybe defending him, where I believe Darren Collison will be more so on Steph, I do think there's an opportunity for Klay here to really, really have a pretty surprising good game. I mean, this team definitely defends guards very, very tough. But something tells me that Klay here is probably the better play over Steph. I think Steph is going to get his. I don't know if he's going to smash at 50 today or 55 or 60. But I think Klay could be a surprise. Now, again, Klay can get us 20, as we all know, or 15, and he can go up there and get us 45, 50 on any given night. So if he gets hot and streaky and they feed him the ball, there's an opportunity for him to do well. So I think he's a great GPP play. Definitely, he's always a good GPP play. I think he is definitely someone to consider. Lou Will at 7,100 is definitely someone to consider as well. I do like Lou Will here. He's had 3 straight games at 33+ minutes with a 60-pointer in between there as well. As you can see, he has 61 here, 35 and 33. So 33+ in 3 straight games. He's playing about 27 to 32 minutes as of late, a little up and down with the minutes, but more so in the 27 to 28 range. All right. Versus Atlanta, he did play against Atlanta. He put up a 38 spot in his last game out against them. All right. So he has had a little bit of success against them. Atlanta's 21st in defending shooting guards here. Here goes Lou Will. 21st in defending shooting guards. And as you can see, Lou Will, man, 33, they're very solid. 4 out of his last 5 games have been pretty solid. He's getting more than enough shots. His usage rate is over 30%. So we know when he comes off the bench, he's pretty solid. But again, Atlanta, 21st in defending shooting guards, giving up 30.2 fantasy points per game, nearly 1 fantasy point per minute. They did give up 55 to McCollum, 37 to Levine, and 40 to Fournier over the last 3 games, and they were all defended by Mr. Bumbry. I don't know if Bumbry is going to still defend these guys today. I think Hooter is back today, and Hooter should be someone to consider also in this slate. Shooting guard, so other than Lou Will or Klay Thompson, I do think that you got to consider somebody in the Denver team. I do like Kevin Hooter here as well. He's coming back from injury. 4,600. He could be someone to consider. On DK's 4,800. You need 23 to meet value here, 24 on DK. He's averaging 19. As you can see, he was out for 2 games, but he's capable of getting you 40. He did 42 out of the last 4 games. This game here, first game back, only 21 minutes, didn't really do a whole lot. 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 turnover, 7.7 fantasy points. But he's going up against the Clippers, and the Clippers, as I already mentioned, they are 18th in defending shooting guards and allowing 33.7 fantasy points per game. They give it 41 to Levine and 33 to Richardson over the course of the last 2 games. And the more important thing is that this game to me is the most intriguing one for me because of the high implied totals these teams don't play. Really, really good defense. I do expect them to score a lot of points. And I think Kevin could be one of those guys that could come here and maybe surprise some people. Again, at his price tag, 4,600, you know, it doesn't hurt to throw him in there if you're playing multiple lineups, especially if you're playing the quarter GPPs and you're making 15, 20 lineups like I normally do. Then it would not hurt at all to get Mr. Hooter in there. So he's in play, at least for me. Torrey Craig could be a consideration. He plays massive minutes for Denver, but he doesn't put up a whole lot of fantasy points. So he's not someone that I really would target, but it's someone that, at least for the price tag, 4,700, he gets the minutes necessary for you to even maybe even consider him. Other than that, I think Beasley and Morris is a little bit more better as far as fantasy point per minute wise. They both the same price range, so Morris would be someone I would consider as well here. 23 plus in 3 straight games, and he's had 22 fantasy points or more in 2 out of the last 4 games. He can get you 30 fantasy points. He's going up against Memphis. Memphis is 16th in defending shooting guards and giving up 30.4 fantasy points per game as of late. So he is someone to consider. And what I meant was that he played 23 plus minutes or more over the course of the last 3 games. So Monty Morris is definitely someone to consider. I do also, you got to consider, as much as Beverly has been getting his minutes, Bradley has been getting his as well. So all of a sudden these guys are starting to get going. So Avery Bradley is someone to consider as well. 3,900, you pretty much need 18 or 19, and he's been putting 21 plus in 5 straight games. 5 straight games. And he's playing over 33 minutes a game, even as high as 38 and 41 minutes. So again, definitely someone to consider here, in a paced-up game like this. So Avery Bradley is definitely in play for me as well versus Atlanta. Like I said before, 21st in defending shooting guards, 30.2 fantasy points per game. He is playing 33-plus minutes, as you can see there, and he's had 5 straight games at 21-plus. He is definitely someone to consider as well. So Avery Bradley in play. Small forward. At small forward, I don't really love a whole lot of guys on the small forward side here today. But Kevin Durant, multiple lineups. I mean, granted, man, it's Kevin Durant, 9,800. You got to at least consider him. Again, it's always a concern for me now because of Boogie Cousins being in there, like I mentioned before a few games back, is that, Durant will probably take a little bit of a hit as far as the rebounding is concerned and so on and so on. All those added additional fantasy points that we would normally get for him. But I'm not going to say that he's not someone to play. At 9,800, he's definitely at a fair price tag. I think he is definitely someone you can consider. But I'd rather pay down because there is, like, Tobias Harris is in a better matchup, better opportunity to actually smash and get, 10x, 11x is Tobias Harris at 7,800 going up against Atlanta at home. I do like Harris a whole lot in this matchup here today. 7,800 for Tobias Harris. You need about 38 to meet value. On DK, he's 8K. I'm okay with that, because he's a guy that can get you definitely 40 or better, especially in this matchup. But obviously his price tag is way better on FanDuel, $200 cheaper. He should be definitely somebody you should have exposure to. He's playing 33-plus minutes or more easily over the course of the last 10 games. So as you can see, he definitely can score, get you rebounds, assists. He'll get you the occasional blocks and steal. And, the numbers are not too bad. A little up and down, but as you can see, 38 or better in 1, 2, 3, 4, I would say about, 32 plus in pretty much 8 out of his last 10 games. So he's solid enough. A little bit trending upward is Mr. Tobias Harris. But again, I love the matchup. He's going up against Atlanta. All right. So Harris, and as you can see, solid, decent numbers here from 37 pretty much up. And then the minutes are there. The usage rate is going to be there, over 25% pretty much on average for him. So I do like him. Atlanta, 29th in defending small forwards, allowing 32.8 fantasy points per game as of late and a little bit over 1 fantasy point per minute at 1.04. And we got a guy here that's averaging, is going to probably average more than 1 fantasy point per minute. Paul George was the last stud to put up some nice numbers against his team, put up 50 about 6-7 games ago. Jason Tatum put up 39. Jonathan Simmons recently 24 and Harkless 24. So again, if Harkless and Simmons can get at least 24, I don't see no reason why Tavares Harris cannot at least be value. I really think he's going to exceed and smash here. So I do love Tavares Harris here. As you can see, not a whole lot of guys I do love in a small forward spot. Willie Barton, considering the Murray's out, I mean, hands down, he's got to be in play. His price is already up quite a bit without putting up the the big numbers as of yet. 6,300. I have no problem with sprinkling him in a lineup or two today because of the factors that they need that offense. But I need to see him bump these minutes up to about 30 minutes. He's at 25, 26 the last two games. Has been putting up 16, pretty much 15 points per game. And he's averaging about 25 fantasy points. He did put up a 43 spot 3 games ago. So we know he has 40-point upside. We'll love to see him get to about 30 minutes today, especially with Jamal Murray out. It could be an opportunity. Again, him at 6,300, and then you have the option, of course, going with his teammate in Gary Harris, who's only 4,800. So I will probably lean a little bit more to Gary Harris and hope for the best. Again, both guys are both been starting the last 2 games, so you can pair them up both here, and then of course on DK you can definitely sprinkle them around. They are position eligible as shooting guard as well as small forward as well. So those guys are definitely options. Other than that, Bogdanovich is someone he can always consider because he's consistent, 25 to 26 pretty much on average. He can get you 30 to 35. At 5,700, you need about 27. Taurean Prince is someone also 5,300, starting to get some minutes, starting to come around offensively. He's in a paced-up game here. They're going to need him to try to put up a little bit of offense. If he can put up some numbers, he can definitely be somebody of a surprise here. Again, keep follow with me on Twitter, and we'll see where we stand later on as I do a little bit more research. But right now, I think Tavares Harris is the best play. You can't consider Bogdanovich. Kyle Anderson is now in this game, so that definitely hurts Barton or Harris a little bit. But, I mean, I think Harris is going to play shooting guard while Willie Barton plays the 3 spot. So Gary Harris might be a nice play at 4,800. Down here, Kevin Knox had 2 pretty good games against this team already. He hasn't been trending good. He's been trending downward, actually, so he hasn't looked too good as of late. Minutes have been a little choppy. But if Coach Fizdale realizes and looks at his statistics and see that this kid has some success against, Nicholas Batum in the last 2 matchups, which I have him here. He put up a 34 spot and a 47 spot in those matchups. He could be someone you can consider here. As you can see, this does not look pretty, but this does. 34 and 47. Again, he played massive minutes in those 2 games. His minutes have been down. Again, is just an option. Is someone that you could possibly consider. Charlotte's 15th in defending small forwards, allowing 22.3 fantasy points per game as of late. They did give up 29 and 29 to both Bogdanovich and Middleton over the course of the last 2 games. All the small forwards have been defended by Mr. Batum. So I think Kevin Knox could be possibly a very sneaky play here. Tyreek Evans, you can always consider Tyreek Evans, man, but I'm not going to advise anybody on Tyreek Evans. I advised you guys a couple of days ago. I figured Indiana would definitely give this kid more opportunity to score, put him in position to score, play him more minutes. It hasn't quite happened, so I don't think it's going to happen. I think, again, I may say all this right now, and tonight he goes off for 40, 45, and if he does, good for him. But I'm going to fade. I'm not going to buy into the Tyreek Evans. I've already given that more than enough chances this year. And it has not happened. He's not getting enough minutes, and he's not really taking more shots than I thought he would be getting. He's not taking those shots. So Tyreek Evans is definitely someone you can take a stab at him, but again, for me, I am not. Gordon Hayward is just not the same player anymore, so that's a concern there. Joe Harris situation, if he's out, remember what I said, that definitely opens up the door for Napier a little bit more, but still a tough matchup for Shabazz against Kyrie Irving. Again, I do like Harris here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. This guy Bruno here may get some minutes, surprise guy. And with the Knicks, you never know. Mario could possibly get some minutes and go off. So it's tough to say. Not a whole lot I love at small forward. At power forward, definitely nice matchups here. You got John Collins going up against Montrezl Harrell. Both of those guys are in play. In my opinion, I do love Montrezl at $7,000. He already smashed the first few times against his guys against Atlanta, so I don't see no reason why not to go with Montrezl Harrell. He is definitely the best play here at 7,000. He's 7,000 here. You need 35 on DK. He's 7,100. Again, I have no problem with him on DK at that price. Obviously, the price is more appealing here on FanDuel. All right. The guy is, he's a beast when he's able to play minutes. He's playing 29 to 30 as of late. They got a 25, 7, and 2 in his last game, 34 spot. We know he has 40, 45-point upside. Can definitely get you 50. As you can see, he's done that here. Got 48 here. So he has potential to put up some huge numbers. Take a look at him a little bit further here. And Harrell. And as you can see, the numbers don't look pretty here. 14, 26. This does not look that cute. But again, 29 to 30 minutes pretty much. Usage rate over 20% in the last 3 games. He's starting to take more shots over the course of the last 2 games. And if we look a little bit deeper, against Atlanta, he did put up a 59.7, pretty much a 60 spot in the last game. And he was actually priced higher in that game, $7,800. He's at $7,000 today, so definitely a nice little discount. And in that game, he played 32 minutes, 22% usage rate, shot 5 of 10, had 15 of 18 free throws. He got to the foul line a lot. So that's what he needs to do. I think in that game, though, there was no John Collins. So those are things that that's what you got to look at sometimes is, did he match up against Collins the last time? So again, Montrell's, again, he also not only plays the power forward spot, he does play the 5 spot for the Clippers time to time as well. So we don't know where he's going to line up tonight. He might be in the center spot. But Montrell's Harrell for me is definitely in play, man. We're looking at Atlanta. They're 30th, dead last, as you can see here, defending power forwards, and they've been allowing 31.7 fantasy points per game as of late. They did give up 42 to Jeremy Grant, 41 to Aminu, 32 to Marketing, and 32 to Jonathan Isaac. So again, Montrell's Harrell, with the physical abilities that he has, he should be able to ball off here and get 40 or more in this matchup. So Montrell's Harrell is in play for me. I think he's the best play there. Other than that, you can always consider John Collins in the same matchup. Remember, it's a paced-up game, but he is $1,300 more. He could also get you 50, but I do like the possibilities of Montrell's getting 50 at only $7K. All right. Other than that, you got Noah Vonleh here, has been playing well for the Knickerbockers and has had decent games against Charlotte. So he's someone to consider there. Charlotte is 15th in defending power forwards, allowing 31.2 fantasy points per game. He did put up a 40.7 and a 26.5 versus Charlotte in 2 games earlier this year. He's at 6,600, so you pretty much need 33 to meet value. Jason Tatum, 6,500, also has had some success against Brooklyn. So he's someone to consider. Brooklyn is 4th in defending power forwards coming into this matchup, allowing 28 fantasy points per game. But he had 2 solid games against them, 56.5 and 33 spot thus far against Brooklyn. Other than that, I always like Thaddeus Young against certain teams, and I think he's in a good spot here against Golden State, 6,300. You need pretty much 31, 32 to meet value, so he's someone to consider. Marvin Williams at 5,400 has had success against the Knickerbockers as well, so he's someone to consider as well. At 5,400, you need pretty much 26, 27 there as well from him. All right, at center. At center at the top, man, I like Jokic here today. He's got a ball out for his team in this matchup. Granted, he's going up against a tough defender in Marc Gasol. Now, again, I mentioned that Gasol has been rumored to be on the trade market. They're trying to trade him. I don't know how many minutes they're going to give him. They did give him 29 after 25 minutes 2 games ago. Last game, I think he played 29, nearly 30 minutes. So, again, if he's going to get 30 minutes, it's going to be a tough matchup for Jokic, but I still like Jokic at 11-4. You just got to, out of all the guys tonight, Jokic and Kyrie Irving definitely stand out as the top 2 studs. So I will have exposure to both of them in different lineups, and if I can squeeze them in with the value in one lineup, I would definitely do that as well. So Jokic in play, 11,004. You need pretty much 57 to meet value. At DK, he is 10,800. You need 5,400 there. And if you look at his game log, 52+ in 3 straight games. He did have a monster 70-point game his last game out with a triple-double. He had a 68 here, and he had a massive game there against Utah, 28 points, 21 rebounds. The guy's just been balling his butt off, man. And they're going to need him to do that again here today. 35+ minutes per game, which is absolutely wonderful. That's what we want to see. And we will assume he's going to play at least 35, maybe even slightly more if this game is competitive. Against this team tonight without no Jamal Murray. They're going to need that offense. Last game against Memphis, he did put up a 53 spot. All right, so he did put up 53+ on these guys the last time out. Take a look at it right here. Yes, 53.4, and that was back on December the 10th. Memphis is coming here. They're 17th in defending centers, allowing only 26.3 fantasy points per game. So when you see it below 29 fantasy points, that is pretty good. Again, they are put up some nice numbers against. The last guy who put up some nice numbers against them was actually Mr. Okafor, actually 41 spot. That was about 5 games ago. Miles Turner in the last game only put up 30. So again, and Marc Gasol was defending him. So again, Jokic brings a little bit more to the table than Mr. Turner does. As far as where he stands with his team offensively and what he could do. He could shoot threes. He could shoot from the perimeter. He's a good free throw shooter. Can get in the paint. Can rebound. Can do it all. Can pass the ball. So these are the things that are a different skill set than Miles Turner, even though he's a bigger guy. So Jokic in play. Other than Jokic, I mean, you could consider Miles Turner against Golden State. But then you also have DeMarcus Cousins at 7,200. I'm not too high on these guys. Other than Jokic, I'd rather come down to Horford or come all the way down to Dwayne Dedmon. I do like Dwayne Dedmon against the Clippers here. The Dedmon is here 25-plus minutes per game over the last few games, as you can see. Pretty solid, 24, 26, 24, 23. And he's putting up decent numbers, 35, 30, 35. So 3 straight games at 30-plus. He's trending upward from his 26 average. At 63, you pretty much need 31, 32 fantasy points. And on DK, he's 5,500. So he's definitely hands down a DK play for me. At 5,500, you only need 26 pretty much to meet value there. And that's his average. And as of late, he's been putting 30 or better. And he's in a nice matchup here versus the Clippers. The last time he played the Clippers, he put up 33.4 fantasy points. The Clippers are 26 in defending centers, allowing the most in this entire slate today, 44.9, 45 fantasy points per game to opposing centers and a whopping 1.5 fantasy points per minute. This is a young man that averages over 1 fantasy point per minute usually when he's on the floor. So I definitely like him. He's my second favorite player center today at that price tag. And then if you're not on him, you could actually go with Al Horford. We got to pick on the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets are dead last in defending centers. And Al Horford is coming in here, and he's been playing really well as of late too. His minutes are up since his injury. He's been up 34, 32. Last 2 out of the last 3 games, he's played over 30 minutes, and he's played double-double in 2 games straight. 44 and 46 as far as fantasy point totals, which is something that he normally doesn't do on a consistent basis. We know he's consistent as far as getting 30, 35 fantasy points. So he is balling out. He is actually 15 points higher than his average over the course of the last 2 games as far as fantasy point totals. So definitely someone to consider, man. Had a 35 spot versus Brooklyn earlier this year. We'll take a look at him here real quick. Al Horford. And as you can see, he has done that. 35 against Brooklyn back on January the 7th. All right. So Brooklyn 30th in defending centers, allowing 33.6 fantasy points per game, 1.17 fantasy points per minute. And this is a 1 fantasy point per minute player in Al Horford, so I definitely like that. Last game, they gave up 48 to Vonleh of the Knicks, who played center for them. 48 fantasy points. And before that, Vucevic in 2 games out of the last 4 games, he has played against these guys. Brooklyn put up a 59 and a 48. I do like those numbers, with especially Vonleh putting up 48. Vonleh reminds me a little bit of a similar to Al Horford. So Al Horford is in a good spot here as well. So those are the top 3 centers I do like. Definitely Jokic, and then I would think Dedmon at 6,300. Would definitely love to have him down there. If we knew that Kanter would play here, Kanter would be a fine play here, but unfortunately we can't even say that. He has not played in 4 straight games. And then, of course, the third choice would be Horford. And that's pretty much it. Let's go over to the Fantasy Crunch, and let's crunch some lineups up for you guys and get you out of here. All right, so I already did the Fanduel one. I did not do DK and Yahoo. We'll do those here. Everybody's pinpointed. As you see the thumbs up of the players that I like the best. Obviously, follow me on Twitter. Later on today, I will let you know whom will be the final 5 or 6 plays, and then I'll throw in a couple other possible plays right underneath that on the Twitter, on the tweet that I sent out later. Okay, so 50 lineups here. As you can see, Harrell is the top guy at 98%. Tabaris Harris right behind him at 96%. Lou Will, so a lot of Clippers on here, 92% for Lou Will. We go to point guard. Trey Burke is the top dog at 90%. He had Patrick Beverley 66%, which I did mention both guys. And Darren Collison is the other guy I mentioned. He's at 4% down here. Shooting guard, Lou Will at the top, which I mentioned. I did mention Clay as well. He's 58%. And then we got D. Russell's way down here at 12%. Bradley I mentioned as a sneaky play, 8%. And then Monty Morris I mentioned also as a possible sneaky play. He's at 2%. And then I also mentioned also these 2 guys for the Knicks, especially knowing what's going to be the deal with Trey Burke. There's going to be opportunity for Dotson and Trier as well. All right, small forward Harris, top dog 96%, Batum 26%, Lance Thomas 26%. Power forward, Montrezl Harrell, 98%. John Collins, 30%. And Amari Spellman, 26%. Marvin Williams, 14%. At center, Jokic, Harford, Cousins. Okay, so they don't have Dedmon in here, but I do like Dedmon a whole lot. All right, let's go. Oh, sorry. Let me just share with you a couple of these guys. See, I was about to get ahead of myself. So that's the first three lines right there. You have Beverly, Burke, Williams, Graham, Harris, Bogdanovich, Collins, Harrell, and Jokic. And then as you can see, I'm going to pause it for a moment there so you can see 3, 4, and 5, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then 13, 14, and 15. Okay, again, you just got to pause the video, take a look at it. Again, you play at your own risk. You like these lineups, you can. Again, but most importantly, these are not my projections. These are Fantasy Crunchers projections that these lineups are based on, okay? We go to the top. We're going to do DraftKings real quick for you guys. All right, let's go here, 50, and we calculate that, and we'll see what we get. Then we'll get the Yahoo one, then we'll get you guys out of here. We'll wish you guys a lot of luck. Okay, at the top, so far, Klay Thompson seems to be ahead at 100% so far of the lineups. Trey Burke is there. Harrell is there at 100% as well. So we got three guys there. I did mention all three of these players on the video. So Trey Burke is down to 97%. So is Klay. Montrezl is still at 100% of the lineups. We're almost there, 45 lines. And there goes to 50. All right, so we got Montrezl Harrell, Klay Thompson, 96%, Trey Burke, 96%, Kevin Looney, 62%, and Jokic, 60%, Beverly, 54%. Let's go by position. Burke, Beverly, 54%, Kyrie Irving, 42%, Lou Will, 36%. We go to shooting guard, Klay Thompson, 95%, Burks, 96%, Beverly, 54%, Batum, 42%, Lou Will, 34%. Small forward, Batum, 42%, Iguodala, 30%, Tobias Harris, only 22%. Wow, on DraftKings. Power forward, Montrezl Harrell, 100%, Kevin Looney, 62%, DeMarcus Cousins, 48%, Al Horford, 44%, and at center, still Harrell 100%, Looney 62%, Jokic 60%, Cousins 48%, Harford 42%. As you can see, the first line here on DraftKings: Burke, Thompson, Iguodala, Looney, Jokic, Irving, Harrell, and Beverly. And then you got your first three lines right here, and your next lines are right here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 right there. You got 7, 8, and 9 there, 10, 11, and 12. Trey Burke, very popular guy, rightfully so. It's a good value play if he starts again, which I believe he will. And I'll be able to give you 13, 14, and 15, 16, 17, and 18. That is it. I'm not going to go through all 50 lines like I always do. I always just give you at least 15. And that's what we have for DK, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move over to Yahoo for those who play Yahoo. And again, with the Fantasy Cruncher, if you were to pay for the monthly fee on this, you will be able to have access to optimize from all three platforms if you play on all three. I only play mostly on Fanduel. I play some days on DK. I have not yet, as of yet, played on Yahoo. Okay, so we go here. We're going to put 50 on Yahoo. We're going to use the Fantasy Crunchers projections, and let's calculate that, and let's see what we have here. Try not to have these videos so long, but I mean, I'm trying to help you guys out at the same time. So it does take a little bit of time. All right, so far, halfway through the lines. We're getting close to 40. Let's see, 50 lines here. All right, the 50 lines up. Montrezl Harrell, 100%. Trey Burke, 96%. Lou Will, 78%. Tobias Harris, 76%. We go by position. As you can see, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6 on your screen right now. So take note of those right away. And you got Burks, top point guard at 96%. Kyrie Irving, 42%. Shooting guard, Lou Will, 78%. Then comes Klay at 42%. I mentioned both of those guys. Small forward, Batum, 58%, which I did not mention at all. He's come up on both DK in some of the lineups as well as on Yahoo. Will Barton, I did mention, 42%. Terrion Prince, 16%. Then we have power forward Harris, 76%, which I mentioned. Collins, 66% is what I mentioned. And I did mention these two guys as possible plays as well in Vanderlei, 14%, and Marvin Williams, 6%. At center, Harrell, 100%, Jokic, 50%, Cousins, 20%, Hartford, 8%, Kevin Looney at 8% as well. And that's pretty much it. So you got the 6 there. You got 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, and 12. And again, you just got to pause the video. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So with these two sites here, I'm able to give you up to 18 lines. And that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty much it. So again, over here, I mean, I know some of you like to see this on the screen. So again, you can go Kyrie Irving. But if you're not on Kyrie, like I said, Darren Collison is someone I'm considering. And if I'm not on Collison, I do like Beverly. And I do like Trey Burke. And then if you figure shooting guard, like I said, I do like Lou Will or Klay Thompson. But if you're going to pay down, you got to consider either Hooter. You got to consider Malik Beasley or Monty Morris or Avery Bradley. All right. At small forward, Tavares Harris was my play. But you got to consider, again, Bogdanovich. That's a safe play. Terrion Prince is in play. Kevin Knox. And I would say Gary Harris for certain is someone you got to consider, especially if he starts at shooting guard. At the power forward spot, I already told you I do love Montrezl Harrell, but Collins is in play. Green is a tough matchup against Indiana. He hasn't had big games against them, so that's why I didn't mention Draymond, but he's been playing well. Noah Vonleh is in play. Jason Tatum, like I said, and I do like Thaddeus Young here as well. And a guy that you could watch out for is Marvin Williams in this matchup as well. And then at center, I did mention Jokic. So if I was to go with these guys here, I mean, and it could be either one of these guys. Let's just say we go with Trey Burke and not Beverly. Then you still got 55-50 right there, and you got 3 LA Clippers there. I really think if you're gonna target any games here as far as game stacking, I would go with the New York Charlotte game is a game that you could stack with. You could have more than enough money as you think about it. You go like this. I meant to share this stuff with you guys, but as you can see, the top dog here is Kimba, and that's pretty much it. You got a lot of money you could play with here. And then another game that you could definitely target is the Atlanta Clippers game, okay, with the top dog being there, John Collins. So there's money there that you can make a lineup. So those are games. Those are areas you can game stack. At least in my opinion, those are the ones that I'm looking at today. You could also consider Brooklyn versus Boston. Brooklyn has been competitive. They usually don't get blown out, but that's where I'm at. I think Atlanta, the Clipper game is interesting, and New York, Charlotte, they always seem to play fairly competitive games. And that's basically it, ladies and gentlemen. So that's just, again, mixed match. Some of the guys I asked, and like I said, follow me on Twitter later on today. I will definitely get back to you guys and let you know what I think as far as the final lines. All right. Wish everybody a lot of luck. Thanks for watching. Please drop a like. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And hey, share the information, man. I appreciate you guys sharing it in social media, the channel. Other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow.